has continued to maze so many people, especially drivers and pedestrians, as well as passengers heading to their places of work. And even here at Bukoto, the situation is the same, as many people are complaining that they are losing appointments, and others are, of course, failing to reach in time. And this is, of course, contributing to the mess that is they are going to suffer in the day. And many of them are complaining that they are losing a lot of fuel in this traffic jam. Here at Bukoto, the situation is not any better. If you are driving from Ntinda and areas beyond like Chiwature or Chisasi, are going through the Ntinda Trading Center, joining Bukoto here where I'm standing right now, the situation is so tough as regards traffic flow. Coming from the flow of traffic coming from Ntinda joining Bukoto side as you drive towards the Logogo bypass is so tough with bumper traffic jam coming from that direction, as well as Bukoto Street. If you're driving from Chisasi, lower Chisasi, coming towards the Bukoto next to Kabira, just know that there is an immense traffic jam joining the traffic lights next to the Kabira club there. And of course, you'll be delayed for almost 30 minutes coming from lower Chisasi, joining the traffic lights there. But after crossing the traffic lights of Chisasi, then just know that sloping towards Bukoto and next to the Logogo bypass, the flow of traffic is at least much better. You'll not be losing there a lot of time. But before that, you'll be losing close to 30 to 1 hour, depending on where you're coming from. But if you know you're heading towards Jinja Road, then better make way through this Bukoto Crescent or the Semawata Road, and then you'll be joining Naguru Drive, which will be much better than going through this other side of Bukoto. This other side of Bukoto and Ntinda, I just have to remind you that you'll be losing between 30 and 1 hour of your delay time before you hit the city. Other than that, if you have any other issue that or information you need to know about traffic and travel information from this other side of the city, I can sign up for now. From me, Stephen Mbide, and my camera person Joshua Mbazira, is a day, and wish you a safe journey as you drive to your workplace. But remember, excessive drinking is dangerous for your life, especially when you're going to drive. So please don't drink so much if you're going to drive. But if you are to drink, please get someone to drive you. And remember that this weekend you can as well go for a service of your car at any professional service station that can give you that much desired service for your car. That's it. Back to you, Mala, on the morning at NTV. This is Stephen Mbide.
So much, Stephen Mbide, for the traffic update. As you can see, it's bright. In case you haven't yet stepped out, in case you haven't been able to just open your curtains, now you know it's bright and sunny outside and the world is awake. Uganda, everyone is on to and getting to work or to make a quick buck. But as he has told you, please do not drink and drive, and do not do it in excess as we get into the weekend. But for now, we're getting into Tech Note this morning, and we're focusing on the Uganda Police. I am Rita Kanya, and I'm joined by Mala Kivila Odera. Now, the Uganda Police last year did top in the human rights violators within the country, but as of the start of this year, one thing that we have also seen is that a number of reports have been coming in that people are dying within the jails when they're taken to police. So it's away from just even being arrested, but what happens while they are in custody before they get to have and see the courts. So we are joined by a lawyer, Mr. Julius Kalisonga. Thank you so much for joining us on Morning at NTV. And we're also joined by Mr. Bernard Sabiti, and he's an analyst. And we're going to be looking at what exactly has been going on and what happens next, because safety of life in police custody is quite important. So let's take a look at the video of what has been happening just this week and as of last week.
Webwazibidde olunaku lw'eggulo nga poliisi ya Katwe etwala ya Clock Tower mu Kampala emaze okuwa abooluganda lw'aboogere Amonge ebbaluwa ebakkiriza okujja omulambo gwe mu ggwanika e Mulago guziikibwe. Libadde teriri busa ng'omuloodi w'ekibuga Elias Lukwagwa Guse era mbagirawo n'abakwanga ezigula ssanduuku. Ono oluvuddeawo n'ayolekera yafeesi y'omusawo wa poliisi omukulu Moses Byaruhanga ng'ayagala bamutegeeza ekituufu ekyaviiriddeko omugenzi okufiira mu kaduukulu ka poliisi. Kwe kutumya omunoonyereza wa poliisi ya Katwe omukulu James Balasa atebye ebinaddako. Mu bye tulumise Dr. Byaruhanga akyatudde kaati
In brief, nze nizo omulangira lawyer Munulo Juma. Ndi advocate poleza abantu emisango were ni mulangira. Mu bimpimpi aliwo omusibe omu eyafiire mu ikomera nga muwoleza omusango wamu ni bayine babiri bo bayimirirwawo ayi mwene alemererwa sente edimufumya muki mu ikomera. So omuvubuka oyo twafunye ripooti nti yafiire babavunana ati aliwo yebatema ku kyalo kyaibwe kibamubinga musana mukulu bamutema kwa story tulinako aye nga waire tukali kumala muri musango ogwo eyatema bamuleka bamweta Stone.
You know, seeing such stories really break the hearts of many, and we're just trying to see what can be done, what can change, and what more can be done pretty much for us to change this situation. And so I don't know, why are we saying this? Is it that the cleanup that is, you know, ongoing in the police is not yet enough, or it's not yet thorough enough to ensure we don't see such stories?
Well, first of all, I think we have to remember that the Uganda police has a storied history in terms of abusing rights of suspects. This is not just the first time this is happening. First of all, we are not sure whether these suspects are dying because they had pre-existing conditions maybe, and when they are arrested, maybe the condition deteriorates and then people die, because we really never get reports you know, coming out. But also we know that because of the sheer brutality of the police, as has been said in many human rights reports and the history that we know, even the sheer knowledge that we are being detained by the Uganda police, for some people it is enough to kill them because they know exactly what's going to happen to them. So I think it's important to, first of all, get an independent investigation into cases like this, because the police taking charge of doing the postmortems and all that, it's kind of dubious because you can't know whether they are going to bring out the truth. There is a trust gap right there. But also we know that for a very, very long time the Uganda police has been known to abuse the rights of suspects. It's not just beginning from the way they parade them when they are arrested as if they are already guilty. It's how they are treated as if they are not human beings. So we already knew that there was a serious problem with how the police treat suspects that are into their custody. So with these issues of suspects dying, this is a very serious issue. In another country, this would cause a serious soul searching. But unfortunately, it's our police, unfortunately.
All we ever say is, unfortunately, it's our police. We know that what they're doing, each of us around this table has heard that this is happening. Sometimes, as you have mentioned, maybe the way the person has been arrested, something could have already happened to them. But why do we continue to overlook it and just say it is happening? This is when we bring in the law and say, what happens now? Where do we take the police? Because now the police is saying they're going to investigate into this. But it always stops at the investigation.
Recently, there was a public inquest that was conducted at Makenge Court relating to another suspect who was found dead. And in fact, a post-mortem report was prepared showing that this guy hanged himself. As it turned out, when the inquest was conducted, it was found that actually this individual was killed while in the police custody, and then he was just hanged up when he was already dead. The point being that there is a lot of criminality going on by individual police officers for so many reasons. A guy who is involved in a serious crime with other people who may not want to be arrested or who may want to get away with it, will connive with the police officers to have this suspect killed, and then somehow it is stage managed as though it was maybe a suicide, like we saw in that case. Now, the biggest problem we have is that there is a lot of indiscipline. If anything is to go by, if we can learn anything from the recent high-profile arrests by ISO of police officers, it can be seen that the police has become not a preventer of crime, but a collaborator with criminals, whereby a person only has to know a given individual in police, and then that person be able to do so many wrong things. Of course, how police has reacted to this is yet to be seen, because in that particular instance, many police officers were talked about. We are yet to see, or we are yet to hear about the actions that were taken by police against its own officers. Then, of course, police will say we have the professional standards unit. But again, this, as we've seen in the late Mohammed Chirumira, like you saw in his case, while he was coming out to address the criminality in the police, he was now the subject of disciplinary action. There is another individual who wrote a report directly to the president, also a police officer. As we saw, he was also subjected to police disciplinary action. Now, which leaves us in doubt. What is the aim of police? Is it aiming to prevent crime, or is it aiming to protect criminals? It's a very important issue for us to address our mind to, because why should a suspect die in the custody of police? Of course, we've seen it. There's a lot of brutality that goes on when they arrest individuals. From that, even when a guy is, yes, you see, even when a guy is handing himself over to police peacefully, there will still be some show of force. There will be some element of brutality. I don't know if it is, I don't want to say African thing.
Is it something
that somebody must be violent in order to make a point?
Or the power comes
it's just difficult to understand.
Does it stem from the point of training, pretty much, and laws that govern the house on how to conduct their duties, pretty much?
Well, I'm sure the police as an institution must be having a clearly defined standard operating procedures.
Yes.
Which I imagine every officer during training is taken through those procedures. I don't really think it's because of ignorance of the law, of the guidelines for conduct. I think it's pretty much has to do with impunity. Because these police officers know that those who have done it before them have not faced any consequences. And so when you have that kind of impunity reigning in an institution, then it perpetuates repeat behavior. Because honestly, the police, and it's not just this police, we know that through Uganda's history, the police has always had a reputation as a very violent institution. We always thought that with the coming in of NRM in 1986, these things were going to be history. Unfortunately, we realized during Kayihura's reign that the police was the regime's force of choice to try to silence any opposition to it, and so the police, I think, felt emboldened, because under Mr. Kayihura the police became a very, very powerful institution, not just in terms of the approval they get from the executive, but in the budgeting, in the support and resources they get. They actually superseded other security agencies, which in part created the rivalry that we are seeing between the police and ISO. So it almost now becomes like a contest on who meets more brutality on the citizens in order to be kind of credited for doing a good job, which is of course very absurd.
Okay, and as we talk about the police and life and custody, that part that we talk about is also the cells. I don't know if you've had the chance to look at the police cells and how, first of all, the capacity that they put in is not what it can actually stand. Because that could also be one of the people that they say one, some reports say two, was suffocated in a prison cell. So now in a cell like that, let's look at the facilities. What needs to change on that end? Because if the law is not being followed, but these people continue to be put in these cells, something is going to have to give.
One thing, of course, the facilities are not enough. But again, must a criminal always be arrested and detained? Is it that every time a person is arrested, that person cannot be bonded? Because the law anticipates that inquiries cannot be completed in one day. That's why they provide for example, bond at police or bail when a person is charged. So, but the indiscipline and of course corruption, you know, has led to overcrowding of the cells, where a person is accused of really even a disagreement at home. That person is still detained until that person gives some money or something, some form of value is exchanged. That is the problem. But these problems can be managed if police acted in a more professional manner. Professional manner how? Screening. How? Because detention is to protect society or maybe even protect this particular individual involved, the accused person. But if you screen and find that this is not a flight risk, he has provided sureties, maybe he has a home where you can easily get him. Sometimes a person hands himself over to police, he's accused of a crime, he's summoned, he goes, he's detained.
Right.
Now, such a person who has come by himself, must he be detained in police? Because the more you detain, the more you clog the cells, and the more you even the system backlog, you create backlog for court. But again, we have the problem of corruption in police. Of course, the desire to be bribed in order to get bond. Then, of course, the criminal elements that have infiltrated police, because we've seen it. If people at the top are accused of committing serious crimes, of course they cannot go and effect the arrest themselves. It means they are using junior officers to perpetuate the crimes.
And so that brings us to the next question. What then can be done to do this cleanup as we come to a close? I seek your views and also his views. Where can we start? I
think the start should be, police should be more serious with itself. We expected a serious change with new leadership at police. That is when they took away Kaihura and his commanders. We expected better, and the belief that police is going to perform better. Now, police should act in a more professional way. It should do. Sometimes we all have weaknesses. Every system has weaknesses, but it takes that particular individual to do a self-assessment and say, I think I've fallen short. We must improve this way.
Okay.
Until it does that, we shall still continue having these problems, and they will be recurrent.
All right.
I think I will agree with him, of course, totally, but I also think that there's something fishy going on when you see the new police chief issuing guidelines on how suspects must be treated. But then the rank and file police officers do not obey the instructions of their chief. That begs a question, really. Who has real power exactly in the police? And this is why, you know, in Uganda here, nothing is always as it looks like. You might think that because someone has a heavy, huge title, they actually wield power. But we know that in informal governance systems, in a hybrid regime like this one, in many cases, people that wield the real power actually are not even on the surface.
So what's the solution there?
So the solution is, I think, for the institution of the police to take serious its mechanisms for law and order. That's their constitutional mandate. But I mean, they need to make sure that the people within its ranks that disobey the standard operating procedures are punished openly, and there is a clear line of accountability.
Punished openly.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Okay.
Interesting.
Now the conversation continues using #morning@NTV. The safety of life within the police custody is what we are talking about this morning, and we have been joined by an analyst who is Mr. Bernard Sabiti and a lawyer who is Mr. Julius Kalisonga. Thank you so much for joining us this morning, and perhaps what we have been speaking about this morning will, by the end of 2019, a miracle could have come our way. We just maybe need to give the new police inspector general some more time.
Right.
Keep it morning at NTV, because we'll be coming back with reality on the ground, where we have Fresh Kid.